Hey everyone, we're here with the Korg wavestate wave sequencing synthesizer, and in this video we'll talk about multisamples, layers, and vector synthesis. So in addition to wave sequencing, wavestate also features vector synthesis, which is a way of combining wavestate's 64 voices into complex multi-timbral sounds that you can control in various ways. And one of those ways is with the vector joystick. So let's very quickly create a sound made up of 4 layers that are all just on multisamples. Let's go to Wave Sequence, select, and then move backwards and select a single multisample. And let's start out with, let's say, a string sound. String ensemble 1 sounds great. And while we're in here, let's go to the amp envelope, bring a little bit of attack, give it a little bit of decay by lowering the sustain, and bring up the release a little bit. That's a more natural envelope for a string sound. Next, let's do layer 2 the same way. Let's go to Wave Sequence, select, change it to a single multisample, and let's find maybe a woodwind. Now let's turn that layer on by holding Shift, turning on the layer. Let's turn off layer A so we can hear it. And let's do the same thing with the amp envelope. Sounds kind of natural. So let's turn layer B off and let's work on layer C in much the same way. This time let's choose a brass. And you can hear the wealth of great multi-samples that come with wavestate paging through these. Now let's do the same for the last layer, and this time let's choose a pipe organ. Now if I turn on all 4 layers, it's a very cinematic sound, but I have the exact same volume for all of my layers. So what I can do here is turn on vector volume. And now while I'm in here, it's worth noting that wavestate is the first ever vector synthesizer to allow you to modulate the time scaling of an entire envelope, and it's also the first ever vector synthesizer to have dedicated knobs for the vector envelope times, where you can edit this with a knob and also grab the vector joystick to make changes. If we go back to the Perform screen and page over to velocity zones, it's worth noting that we can use velocity to determine when our layers come in. On the next page, we can of course use keyboard zones to determine the same thing. If we keep paging through, we can see that you can actually turn off the global MIDI channel for each separate layer. This would be extremely useful if, for example, you wanted to assign one layer to a specific channel and have an external keyboard control just that layer. Now before we go, I want to show you one more thing, which is this sound, Basic Velocity Switch Tine EP, which is using velocity of the key bed to actually determine which sample in the sample lane is being played. And this is of course independent for each note. And in this way, we can make a very detailed and nuanced piano sound, or in this case, an electric piano sound, without using multiple layers. So that's a little bit about multisamples, vector synthesis, and layers on the Korg wavestate. In the next video, we'll show you some tricks for navigating around on your wavestate.